I guess the cold open was too good. We had to skip it. Move over, Dilly Dilly. It's Miller time. I mean, it doesn't even hit now. Just hit the thing.
Happy Monday and welcome into another emergency episode of the PHNX Sun Devils show. I'm Anthony Totri, joined as always by my partner in crime, Erik Ruby. We've got the deli man behind the Mac making all of the magic happen. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. Erik, a lot of incoming transfers for Arizona State, but that's what we're going to be talking about at 1 o'clock this afternoon. We're going live because the Sun Devils just landed a big fish. In fact, one of the top transfer portal wide receivers and their top-rated transfer ever, Colorado wide receiver Omarion Miller. He's an Arizona State Sun Devil, Erik.
This is big news. This is big news.
Giant.
Huge news. I mean, Arizona State's maybe had the best transfer portal season so far. Like this is one of those moments that reaffirms to those who doubted that Kenny Dillingham and this coaching staff, Hines Ward, the people who are out there recruiting, Shimon Mateer, apparently out there recruiting as well, they've got it. Like they've got it. Because I promise you there are other schools who are probably offering Omarion Miller more money. Just because of the way that college football is, to be able to get a guy like this here, and I'm sure having a former Colorado wide receiver who might be going in the top 5 of the NFL draft in a couple of months helps. But Totri, this is just outside of football, outside of what Omarion Miller can do for this team. This is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, I mean, this is a monstrous deal when we're talking about the grand scheme of the transfer portal for Arizona State to snag what a lot of outlets have as a top 3, top 5 wide receiver in the portal, and then a top 10 player in the transfer portal as well. Does it help that Arizona State just turned Jordan Tyson into a potential top 5, top 10 pick in the NFL draft? Absolutely. Does it help to have Hines Ward as your wide receivers coach? Again, the only wide receivers coach in Division I college football that is currently up for a Hall of Fame bid, somebody that is a Super Bowl MVP? Absolutely. This is somebody that is going to change Arizona State's offense significantly in 2026. And again, like when we talk about what Kenny Dillingham, Hines Ward, all of these guys have been capable of doing, just again, 3 days into the transfer portal cycle. Mind you, Omarion Miller had a visit scheduled with Texas Tech following his visit to Tempe. Omarion Miller never made it to Texas Tech. Right. That says a whole hell of a lot. And we know the kind of money that Texas Tech and they're throwing around in Lubbock. For Arizona State to get this addition at this point, to have potentially a new wide receiver 1. The only reason I say potentially wide receiver 1 is because I know there is another Arizona State, or excuse me, potentially future Arizona State wide receiver on a visit, I believe today in Boston College is Reed Harris, who is a monster threat as well. But the Sun Devils, the fan base was asking for more weapons. Ask and you shall receive, says Hines Ward.
Well, that plus the fact that you really haven't lost any of your major wide receivers to the transfer portal. I mean, you lost Jordan Tyson for sure.
Yeah.
But so far, like Jared Hamilton, Jalen Moss, these are guys that are going to be here next year. As far as of the recording of this, you know, you even look at a young guy like Derek Eusebio. I know you've been really high on Harry Haspin and what he's shown in practice. Like this is a deep wide receiver room. And look, I know that last cycle we got excited about the wide receiver room, right? We got excited about transferring in Jalen Moss and transferring in Jaron Hamilton, and not to be disrespectful to those players. And obviously it didn't really turn out the way we expected the season. This is completely different. I mean, this is as blue chip gets, and he's a completely different wide receiver than Reed as well. Like Reed 6'5". This guy is smaller but faster, has great hands, really great at getting open. And look, I mean, if you look at the statistics from last season, I think some people might go, really? What? Okay, like, yeah, that's good, but is that like top 10 player in the portal? 45 receptions, 808 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 18 yards per reception. I mean, 18 yards per reception is top 20 in the country. But other than that, like 45 receptions, that's not even in the top 150. 808 yards isn't even in the top 60 in the country. And 8 touchdowns is top 25, right? So, like, good, but you wouldn't consider them like incredible. But it's the eye test, and it's also understanding, like, we played Colorado. You saw how bad that team was. You saw how bad their quarterback play was this year. To be able to do that and to be consistent, which Omarion Miller was, now going into a way better situation in Arizona State, this is going to help Cutter Boley, the newest quarterback, quite a bit, and also be surrounded by other weapons, whether it's another portal target that they're able to get, or honestly, even at this point, just the rest of the guys staying. Like, this is not just a great situation for Arizona State, but I understand why Omarion Miller wanted to come here beyond Jordan Tyson and, you know, beyond like, oh, Tempe's nice and they'll probably offer me a lot of money. Like, he's set up for a lot of success here, much more success than he was at Colorado.
And he's going to get developed and coached at a rate that you wouldn't find anywhere else, right? That's just what this is, right? And I think Omarion Miller's situation to get from Colorado to Arizona State, at least in my mind, feels like a clear investment in the future, right? To be like, okay, maybe I'm going to take less money at Arizona State than I would at like a Texas Tech, right? And I'm going to learn from literally one of the best to ever do it in Hines Ward. I'm going to do it in a beautiful place. I'm going to do it with some offensive masterminds in a team that wants to compete again in 2026, right? In the Big 12. So I think it's an investment in saying, you know, I'll take a little bit less money now for some better coaching, some more development, and then that money will follow, you know, potentially if you have a monster season going to the NFL draft. Again, just take a look at what Jordan Tyson was capable of doing, literally transferring from the same university just several years ago, right? To be able to make that jump and come to Arizona State from Colorado. And you hit it, right? Omarion Miller is a very different wide receiver than potentially an addition of Reed Harris. He is a much more fluid wide receiver. And when I say fluid, I almost mean like, and I don't want this to get misconstrued as me saying that he is as talented as Jordan Tyson, because I don't think he is, at least not at this point in time. But I think he is a very similar style of wide receiver in terms of he's not necessarily the guy that's got the monster size. He's not the guy that is going to, you know, run a 4.2 40 by any means, right? But he is somebody that can kind of do everything really, really well, right? So he is a master of the, you know, of possession catches. I really like his route running. Somebody that has a really solid release as well. He can really do it all at the wide receiver position, which I think is going to be super fun for this Arizona State offense and this fan base to really experiment with, to see what he can do really across the formation, right? Somebody that doesn't necessarily just need to sit outside and play, you know, an X wide receiver spot. Somebody that I think you can move around all across the formation to get some of your best matchups. He really does do it all, or at least he did at Colorado. And just because he's not necessarily like 4.2 40 fast, this guy can still burn. He 1000% is still a speedy wide receiver. So don't just think that Arizona State added a guy with just great hands who's 6'2". This guy is an athlete all the way around. And that's what you need at the wide receiver position. How many people, again, were begging for some wide receiver help outside of Jordan Tyson last season? And you got it, right? This is somebody that has aspirations to go to the NFL. I think his ceiling is, again, potentially first round wide receiver if he does everything that, you know, Jordan Tyson was capable of doing in terms of his development. I really do think he is that talented. And a lot of the rating systems have him as a higher touted prospect coming to Tempe than what Jordan Tyson was when he came to Tempe at the time. And that says a whole hell of a lot, knowing, again, that Jordan Tyson is pretty much a solidified top 10 pick in the 2026 NFL draft.
Yeah, this could be another first-round pick for Arizona State at the wide receiver position. Like, there is absolutely a realistic, not even like a far-fetched, but a realistic future that this guy is going somewhere in the first 32 picks. Like, there are very few and far in between guys that you can say that just in the transfer portal right now, right? Of course, everybody, I guess not everybody, but a lot of people have the potential to do it. But let's talk about like realistic potential. Like realistically speaking, there's a chance that this guy goes in the first round. There's a chance that this guy is the best wide receiver in the Big 12 next year. Right.
Yeah.
I know that potentially with Reed Harris, he's maybe not wide receiver one. I would say right now, I'd put my money on Omarion Miller over really anybody to be wide receiver number one that this team is going to get. Not any disrespect to anybody else or that it can't happen, but that's just how good I think this kid is. And to be able to do all the things that you said. And I know that a lot of this is okay. We're talking about it. Like my suggestion is just go watch, like just go watch this kid play football. Right. And when you look at Jordan Tyson and like when you talk to draft experts and draft analysts, like it isn't okay. Jordan Tyson's speed is otherworldly, right? He doesn't have the build of a Teteroa McMillan who's super, super tall and can high point.
They're not like physically dominating wide receivers.
Exactly. But he's a dominating wide receiver, right?
Yeah.
Some guys just do it. And Jordan Tyson did it. And again, like I'm not trying to compare the two, but like they do kind of fall in that similar build, right? And to have a guy like Cutter Boley as well, who has struggled a little bit sometimes with the turnover issues, to give him a wide receiver that can do a little bit of everything and to put him in a situation where he has a ton of different options, even without another wide receiver commit. Just think about the versatility you have in this wide receiver room in theory and just like in reality as well. Like we saw Jalen Moss do a little bit of everything in the Sun Bowl. Obviously he didn't have the season you expected. Jared Hamilton is an absolute deep threat burner, whether that ever comes to light, who knows, but he absolutely is. Derek Eusebio, who maybe still has like the steadiest hands on the roster and is an absolute big play machine, but can still operate in the middle and in the short yardage situation. AJ Ia as your tight end is another guy who can go out there and high point the ball. You're probably maybe thinking about adding another tight end weapon that you can throw out there. Plus the running backs, including a new one that you got that we'll talk about later today. But of course, some of the returners as well, Kyson Brown, Jason Brown Jr., possibly Kanye Udo, who hasn't entered the transfer portal yet. You put all these weapons around Cutter Boley with, in my opinion, a certified number one guy as of right now in Omarion Miller. I mean, it's a recipe for success. And I think it would be hard to say that the offense would be better set up for success than it was going into this year because you had Sam Levitt, you had Jordan Tyson. But given the results of those offense, and even when those guys were on the field, you could see a better offense. You should. And in fact, it's probably expected to see a better offense from Arizona State this year after Sam Levitt moves on, after Jordan Tyson moves on, after Ben Coleman moves on, after Malik McClain moves on, after they all move on. You expect to see a better offense this year.
1000%. And I think CL put it really well in a comment in the chat saying Miller is an OSU, Ohio State type wide receiver. They never have like physically dominating traits, right? Outside of like Jeremiah Smith, but they all are refined and they've all got like the jack of all trades characteristic and they're just always open. And that's the case with Omarion Miller. Somebody again that is always open. And when he's not open, he's probably open. Right, like Omarion Miller is that type of athlete. He's got
the hands to make him open.
He does. He absolutely has the hands, and he has the athleticism. Right, somebody that you trust in those 50-50 ball situations in a different way than you would trust like a 6'5" wide receiver. Right, they're different. But he's still so much of an impact player. Again, a top 10 player in the transfer portal for Arizona State. To get him, this is a whole hell of a lot about the belief already kind of in some of these transfer portal players, right? To be able to say, you know what, yeah, there may be some more money on the table somewhere else, but we believe that we can get the most done here at Arizona State. And that's what a move like this says, right? Is they believe that they can win at Arizona State. They can do all the things that they could, potentially do at a Texas Tech or other places right here in the Valley. So I think, again, that says a whole hell of a lot. And one thing I do want to say here, and I don't want to get too far off this because I know this is about Omarion Miller coming to Arizona State, and that's super awesome. And Arizona State fans, your Monday literally is, regardless of who else potentially commits today, this is the biggest fish you got today, right? There are other phenomenal players. This is a top 10 player. This is top 3 at a position of need in the transfer portal, in the country of available players right now who just opted to come to Arizona State. So certainly enjoy that 1000%. I was told months ago at this point when Sam Levitt was going to enter the transfer portal, specifically from a member of his team, saying that, hey, we just don't have necessarily the confidence that Arizona State is going to be able to build around Sam, get weapons around Sam, protect Sam. I'll tell you what, we're 3 days in. You got some weapons. You got some weapons and potentially some more on the way. You got Omarion Miller, who I believe, again, is a top 5 wide receiver in the transfer portal. You got Reed Harris visiting Tempe today, another top 5 wide receiver in the transfer portal. If they're able to add these guys, along with adding a young speedster in Raiden Vines-Bright from Washington, who they already added, a running back who, again, is an interesting prospect to kind of dissect. I know we'll do that later. It's all just the offensive line, right? We're all just looking at the offensive line after this, because outside of that, they've done everything. They've added weapons. They're continuing to add weapons, and they're not done yet. Again, we're just 3 days in for a portal that doesn't close for another 11. This team is reloading 1000%. So I can't, and again, I know there's still a lot in terms of production that you need to see how it all gels together. But I was told that they couldn't build. I was told that they wouldn't have enough weapons around whoever was going to play quarterback. You just got one of the best damn available wide receivers in the transfer portal. Don't tell me that they can't add weapons.
Yeah. I mean, the weapons part, they're absolutely, I mean, look, offensive line is, I would say, obviously, I don't know. This is just speculation. I would say like offensive line has to be like the number one concern for Sam Levitt. So clearly, when you need to go to Kentucky, you need to go to Kentucky, right? Because everything's better over there. But I will say that is kind of like the one thing. But at the same time, like if they got Jermaine Mitchell today versus got Jermaine Mitchell a month ago,
yeah, people have already forgot about that.
Right. We'd be talking, like, honest to God, we'd be talking about it differently, right? Because that's already happened. If they added Jermaine Mitchell, it'd be like, oh my God, look at this team bringing in the beef on the offensive. They already added the number 1 JUCO offensive lineman in the country. They stole a commit from Georgia.
Who's gigantic.
Huge, right? And that doesn't mean that they don't need to do more, because they absolutely do. There are some young pieces on this offensive line, but let's be honest here. Like they have to do more on the offensive line to protect their quarterback, especially a guy like Cutter Boley now, who's not as mobile as Sam Levitt. You need to be able to give him an extra quarter of a second of protection out there to deliver the ball to any of these weapons. But it kind of like, I guess the last thing for me on this specifically, and I know we'll have a lot more to say later today, even more on Omarion Miller, but then all the other guys as well, and potential other prospects that they could be bringing in, is it was not that long ago, Totri, I don't know if you remember this, not that long ago that Arizona State and Kenny Dillingham were in the middle of what seemed like a very public kind of like, not bidding war, but contract negotiation, right? The rumors to Michigan, the rumors to Penn State, the rumors to LSU, all of this on and on and on and on and on. And Arizona State deciding to invest in Kenny Dillingham, deciding to invest in his assistant coaching staff, including a guy like Hines Ward, who was a big part about why this actually happened.
Yeah.
Deciding to invest in the roster construction and the money that they commit. Kenny Dillingham going out there and asking for a $20 million check. Well, guess what? You want to know how you get a $20 million check? Is because the last time that somebody invested money in you, like 2.5, 3 weeks ago, you turned around and I've already done this. Like, it's been 3 days. You got your quarterback. You got a top 2 wide receiver in the portal per the rankings, top 10 player in the portal. You got
highest rated transfer ever.
Yeah, highest rated transfer ever. You got another young kid who is a local product that you're bringing back home, right? Which is always kind of a big selling point as well. You've added the number 1 offensive lineman from JUCO, the number 1 JUCO prospect. You flipped from Georgia, added a couple other defensive guys also. Like this has been wildly impressive, but also like reassuring to the people who are committing this money, Totri. Because look, at the end of the day, you can't predict the future. You can't predict production. But if every single portal cycle you're going to be getting somewhere in the realm of this type of class, which I can't imagine they won't be if they continue to be successful and have money, like that is Kenny Dillingham saying, you put your money where your mouth is, and so will I. Because Arizona State, Totri, didn't make the Big 12 championship this year. They didn't have a ranked end to their season. In fact, a lot of people would say this was a disappointing season. And guess what? 3 days in the transfer portal, you're looking at a top 5 class in the country right now with the potential to go up.
Yeah, 1000%. Mike says, so Fetty has 0 shots to start? Question mark. Talking obviously about the Cutter Bully news. No, this will be an open competition, I imagine, at the quarterback spot. But again, that's something that we'll discuss really as the offseason kind of progresses. 1000%. Everybody will have a chance at this point. One thing we know about Kenny Dillingham is he does not guarantee playing time. So everybody that transferred to Arizona State, everybody that's committed to Arizona State, will have a chance at their respective positions. And again, just kind of rounding out the Omarion Miller stuff, because we will have a show at 1 o'clock this afternoon, again, right here on the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. Definitely breaking down, again, not just more of the Omarion Miller news, but really all of the additions that Arizona State's been able to get over the weekend, really outside of Cutter Boley, since we already kind of spent some time talking about Cutter a number of days ago. But Omarion Miller is the type of player that puts other programs on notice at this point in time. And I had spoke to somebody pretty early on in this process and recently as well about what they want to see from Omarion Miller transferring to Colorado to Arizona State. And the only thing that I heard is they want him to ball out, but they want him to focus on the little things. This is again, if you're coming here to develop and transform your game into wide receiver, headed to the league type level, got to focus on the little things, the daily things, the little minute details that maybe other players don't necessarily focus on because they think that talent is going to outwork hard work, right? So I think when you're looking at Omarion Miller and you're looking at what he's going to be capable of doing, the talent is all there. There's no question about it. He is as talented as they come at the wide receiver position in college football. Genuinely believe that. But you got to see the little things. You got to see the attention to detail. You got to see really the commitment to this lifestyle, which is I think something we really saw Jordan Tyson really engulf himself with since coming to Arizona State, was like, this isn't just a hobby anymore. This isn't just a job anymore. This is a lifestyle, right? If you want to be an NFL wide receiver, if you want to be a top 10 pick, that's what this takes. And I think for me, that's immediately the focus that I look at when you see Omarion Miller at practices, when spring ball starts, is there that level of commitment? How does he evolve? How does he change? How does he develop at Arizona State? That's the one thing that I was told from somebody that's very familiar with Omarion Miller's game, and just really overall the Buffs, is what they want to see from Omarion Miller is that focus on the little things. One final thing that I'll throw out there, and then I'll let you take it away, Rubus, is if you're not a PHNX diehard, sign up to become a PHNX diehard. There isn't a more fun time than transfer portal season to sign up to become a PHNX diehard. Super, super easy. Head to gophnx.com, click the diehard tab, and then you guys can sign up from there.
Let's just say you wouldn't have been surprised. You wouldn't have been surprised by this. Let's just say that.
We told you last year, actually. We told you last year in diehard Discord.
Totri's on one, man. I'll give you credit where credit is due, and I'm not just saying this because you're my co-host. I'm saying it because it's true. You don't always go public with this stuff. Now, sometimes you do, and you get the Sam Levitt portal news right a month before everybody else. But there is countless times that you see breaking news on your timeline, and our diehard Discord saw it not even just like 5 minutes before, but like 5 weeks beforehand. So if you want to be the most informed Arizona State fan, plus like have a lot of fun, like I understand like, the information's there, but like we're having a good time in there too.
Yeah, an absolute blast. And it's, trust me, there's some sickos in there, some diehard Arizona State fans in there. So if you consider yourself a diehard, an Arizona State sicko, again, go phnx.com, click the diehard tab, and all the info that you need is there. Again, Arizona State landing Colorado wide receiver Omarion Miller just 3 days into this transfer portal cycle, one of the top available players in the transfer portal. Let us know what you guys think of the addition in the comments. Again, we will be live at our normal time this afternoon at 1 o'clock. So make sure you guys show up and show out there in the chat. If you want to follow along on social, not just Twitter, but Instagram as well, make sure you give us a follow at PHNX_Sun Devils. You can follow me at Anthony_Totri. You can follow my partner in crime, Erik Ruby, at Erik Ruby. That's Erik with a K. You can, of course, follow the Deli Man at Shane Dief, who is absent as always at this current time. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, let's have a beautiful, blessed Monday, and we will see you guys at 1 o'clock this afternoon. But as always, go Devils and peace.
We all silly like the mayor.